What's up everyone and welcome to another Warframe video. One frame I've been searching high and low for a decent build for a long time is Garuda. Well, today is that day where finally I have one I'm happy to show off, and it isn't just sticking pillage on everything. Woohoo! Welcome to the Playing Chicken Garuda. Before we get into that though, quick shout out to our partner SteelSeries, who I've joined forces with to give away a whole load of codes for Warframe booster packs. Included in the pack are the Thorax and Dynamo Matisse Cala palette and a 3-day affinity booster. Head over to the link in the description below to pick that up. If you leave it for a couple of days after this video goes live, you can pick it up in time for Nezha Prime to come out, so you can get that former done on him as quickly as you can. With that said though, on to Garuda. She's a frame I've always liked the idea of, and the majority of her kit. However, her survivability has always been pretty sketchy. So the idea of this build was to play around with the Helminth system to try to fix that. And with this build we absolutely had, so let's run through the two parts that are key to making this build work. First is her ability Dread Mirror. Ability rips the life force out of the enemy, puts up an impenetrable shield in front of Garuda. It also forms a Dread Heart that will absorb damage and can be channeled into and thrown to do a ton of damage. If an enemy is at 40% health or less, Dread Mirror will insta-kill that enemy. It's the physical shield as well as the insta-killing part that we're actually going to be combining with the Dread Ward Augment, which makes Garuda invincible for a short amount of time each time you kill an enemy using Dread Mirror. Now, this synergy is actually not a new idea. I've been playing around with potential builds for this for months, and it's always fallen apart because we've never had a reliable way of taking enemies down to the threshold where Dread Mirror is going to insta-kill and proc Dread Ward. Until now though. It's worth noting though that you do not become invulnerable, as in you don't get grey health. You still take damage, you just can't die, which makes this a very heart-in-the-mouth build to play, because it always feels like you're about to die. But it does allow Garuda's passive to proc, which is a nice little bump in damage. However, introducing our Helminth ability, which is Reeve, which is going to be replacing the 2 Blood Altar. Blood Altar isn't a particularly great ability, unfortunately. It's just not enough to keep Garuda alive at those higher levels. Firstly, you have the issue of the fact that the range on it is so low that even though you're effectively tied to it at higher level to, well, live, you don't have a lot of mobility on your side. And then you have the fact that the percent heal that it says does not heal you based on your max health, but on the health you're actually missing. So if you're at half health and it restores 50% per second, it's actually going to restore 50% of that missing 50%, which honestly just isn't that strong. All of it makes it a very, very unreliable heal at high level. So why Reeve? Well, Reeve does percentage damage, and we can boost it using the same method we did with the Trinity build, using Viral. Around 190% power strength on Reeve and 10 viral stacks will cause Reeve to do that 60% damage to enemies, bringing them to that magic 40% number, and gives us incredibly reliable Dread Ward kills to proc that invincibility. So naturally, it's going to be up to the build to enhance this, as it always is. To hit that power strength cap, running Growing Power, Augur Secrets and Umbral Intensify, then it's a case of stacking as much duration as possible. Now reminded, Constitution and Prime Continuity is going to give us 14 seconds of Undying when we use the Augment, which obviously you can see on here, Dread Ward. We got Stretch on here, it's going to counter the effect of Narrow Mind, keeps the width of the Reeve up, makes it a lot more reliable to use. And then because we're doing so much casting, we have Natural Talent. It makes a huge difference on here. And then obviously, Crime Sure Footed. The build I actually use in the footage is very slightly different. I drop Prime Sure Footed for Vigilante Pursuit. Doing long run missions for me without enemy radar because your companion is constantly dead is simply miserable. I'd rather not get, well, I'd rather get knocked down a bit more than be without the enemy radar, to be honest, but that is a personal preference change. Arcanes, I've got Energize on here, which is pretty much just something to make things a bit more comfortable to play. I know we've got effectively infinite energy with the 3, but since this is a very intense build to play, having a bit of fallback if you forget to use your 3 is a nice thing to have. You can switch this out for something like Arcane Fury if you want to go with the Arcane Strike if you want to boost your melee more. But these are the two combinations I would recommend for this, Energize and Strike or Strike and Fury. Then it comes really down to playstyle. Prep the enemy with the viral, making sure it's 10 stacks, reeve through them, then use Dread Mirror. Use your 3 to regain energy, use your 4 to help obliterate entire groups. Rinse and repeat until the mission is complete. Now there's a lot of caveats to this build. Firstly, if you're playing with people that are incredibly efficient at killing, you might struggle to keep Undying up at all times because, well, the fact is you need to take time to set up on the enemy or a group of enemies. And if you prep and they come along and wipe them all out, that can spell death for you because there isn't a lot of leeway. The fact though that you have a super long duration on your actual mirror does allow you a little bit of leeway, but it's so easy to get shot in the back and die, so that is something to note while playing this. I would recommend using a health stealing weapon like the Nikana Daikyu combo or the Hirudo, or a heavy attack with life strike. This feeds into the infinite energy from your 3 very nicely because you always have health to sacrifice for energy. I would also recommend a Kuvanuko as your viral procer with the build on screen now. This change actually came because of the targeting on Dread Mirror. It's so wonky. During playtesting we died a lot to just Dread Mirror going to random enemies. You'll jump to the wrong person all the damn time and it is so annoying. So with the Kuvanuko, we can proc a whole group, reeve through that entire group, and then it doesn't matter who we jump to and kill. It's so much nicer. The radiation actually also means you get some breathing room here too because the build, this build doesn't have any crowd control. So the Nuko works on so many levels here. Due to that high fire rate and because we almost always immediately go into melee afterwards after prepping with the viral, we have eject magazine on here to reload some of the magazine for us, which basically acts kind of like the battery arcane for kick guns and allows us to basically never reload. And that's basically the Playing Chicken Garuda build, named so because you are constantly playing chicken with death. It's an intensive build to play. It's an easy build to play badly and die horribly on. It also requires a level of concentration that a lot of builds these days do not. However, it is stupidly effective, completely unkillable, has anti-armor from her 4, infinite energy, and she looks fantastic. I'm so happy we found a good build for her. Is it steel path only? Yes. Is it hard to play with others? Yes. I'm not sugarcoated. Garuda is not in a particularly good spot when it comes to survivability, although I guess we could just do what we were all trying to avoid and just go with pillage instead. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Garuda build. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I'm interested to see if you have any other options we could use for her to try and make her a little bit less squishy at the higher levels. But for now, I hope you have enjoyed the video. Prime access this week and I will attempt to have videos out for you as soon as I can. But for now, many thanks for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I shall catch you in the next one.